But recently we actually were kind of both on the scene, me as a reporter, you working at the Grand Blanc shooting. So that really shook our community and honestly the world. I was actually, since I was the first one on the scene reporting, I was getting messages from people like everywhere, like in France and everything, to try to find out what was going on. So that was traumatic for me. And talking with other
How soon after the shooting did you personally get there?
So I saw my local fire department leaving.
Okay, you were there quick.
Oh, very fast, because I actually started a local newspaper too. So I'm doing like many things. So I report on national news and I report locally. Yeah. So I saw my fire department leaving town, and I was so happened to be going that way anyway. And then I see them leaving Holly, and I'm like, if they're going for mutual aid, there's a problem.
That's right.
And so we're getting closer and closer, and I'm telling my husband, I'm like, what is right there? Like, I see it's beautiful blue sky, and then all of a sudden there's a huge dark cloud in front of us. I'm like, what is going on? And since I know the area, I was able to park somewhere where I could walk over. And I just come up, and people are like, shots. I'm like, what? Yeah. And I thought I was going to the scene of a fire. And that just blew my world. And then speaking of starting a newspaper, I was delivering newspapers. And one of the ladies that I'm pretty close to in town, I deliver one to her, and she's like, I was in the church that day. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I mean, it was so surreal. Yeah. It was insane. And you and all the other first responders, you did not hesitate. Right. You just threw yourselves in there. And I mean, I saw firefighters trying to get the cars out of the lot. And people were worried about going over the curb, that it was going to hurt their car. And they're trying to get water to the scene. Like, fuck your car and leave so they can save some lives. So then later in the day, I go on social media. I mean, like, yes, I posted updates and stuff, but I didn't actually see what other people were saying. And people were so quick to say, oh, well, it's close to Dearborn. Like, what are you guys talking about? They're trying to make this like a racial thing, a religious thing, like whatever. And like, it had nothing to do with that. It really, when people do that, they take attention away from the real problems we have. And that's like, I really contribute this to the destruction of our communities. Like, we don't talk to each other anymore. Like, we think our neighbor is our enemy, but when we actually talk in person, we're like, wow, they're just like a real person. And I know like a lot of criticism you get is that like wherever there's a camera, there's a Swanson, and just talking to your staff for 10 minutes, I was like, wow, there's a person here. Like, I want to get to know the person, not just like you see a minute clip and you think you know someone's life. And again, I don't want to drag this on too long, but this is important because we also saw in Traverse City not that long ago, there was a stabbing. And people online immediately said, oh, he's probably an illegal immigrant. Well, it turns out he's a white dude, and he's actually from Michigan. He's legal, and he shouldn't have been let go because he had really severe mental health problems. So now everyone is distracted about this illegal alien talk, that we're distracted from the real issue, which this is not a partisan issue. Like, we all know that mental health,
it's a people issue.
Yeah, it's really bad. And so I want to focus on the things that like will actually move us forward. And so I don't know, any thoughts about that? I know that was a lot I just unloaded on you, but like, I just, any plans on like how we can mend our communities, like we can get people talking to each other, I don't know.
It's called unity.
Yeah.
If I can take a bit of time to share behind the scenes of what happened on that day, the 28th of September. You were there on one end, I was there on another end, but I'm going to share something that will be inspirational to your viewers and listeners, because I saw unity happen that day, and every day that happened since then. When that, like you said, distraction was happening, there were people doing the work. And this is the work that was done. Number one, the true heroes of that day were those inside the church. The gentleman that I dragged out that was already dead, Mr. Howard, defended at 70 plus years old his congregates, and it cost him his life. I went to his funeral. That is the hero. Yeah. Those people who worshiped regardless how anybody listening now worships. They went there to worship on a Sunday, and they wanted to worship in peace. Never did they think that there would be a lone wolf that was prowling, that would attack. But those soccer moms, those retiree ladies, the grandparents, the congregants, as soon as the truck hit the front wall, they knew this was not an accident. There was an intuition. Mm-hmm. And then when the shooter got out and went to the doors to get in, there were ceremonial doors that were locked because the church entrance that everybody uses is in the back of the church, which is on the north side. While this is all happening and 911's being called, that's when the first officer happened to be just over a minute out, a DNR officer, which is a natural resource, a conservation officer, just happened to be in the area. And then you had a Grand Blanc Township officer that showed up. And then when these things happen in a mass shooting, the seconds play out like hours, but they go by rapid fast. And so you have all these individuals that are trying to run, flee, fight, or hide, because that's what we teach. The problem with this, with the hiding, what these kids are taught, we don't count on fire. So without getting into the details of the investigation, clearly the shooter was prepared to not only shoot with high-powered weapons, but also to light it on fire, which he did, which is what you saw. And this is a church that was built probably in the early 80s. And it had, a single story, a huge steeple. And as soon as he lit the fire in the sanctuary, it spread into the rafters and shot across the whole church. All that is happening. Within a few minutes, the shooter runs out the back. He'd already shot 8 people serious, 1 critical, 4 dead. But the other 2 inside were trapped. So the shooter had already had a kill count of 4 at that point. But as he was running out, that's when he was confronted by law enforcement and he was killed. But that just stopped that threat. I, on the other hand, was getting ready to go to church myself. And it was right before 11 o'clock. I got a call on my phone. It was one of my lieutenants. And it said, "Sheriff, did you hear what's happening in Grand Blanc?" I said, "I'm about to." He goes, "It's an active shooter. It's the Mormon church on McCandless Road." Now, I told you about my background. The church that was assaulted, that was on the 4,000-ish block of McCandless Road. I grew up in Goodrich on the 8,000 block. So I know, just like you, where that church is. And I know just west of that is the Jehovah's Witness Church. Just east of that is the Gloria Dei Lutheran Church. So I'm out of the house in 6 minutes. I'm on scene in 16 minutes. And I see ambulances going. At that point, the radio traffic is possible second shooter because there's popping inside. And you just don't know. It's just organized chaos. When I show up, this is a story, and it's a compelling story that I'll show you the video off camera, but it's been public, but just for the sake of this, you can fit it in if you want. I get out of my car, I throw my trauma kit on, because in those kinds of mass shootings, without knowing how many victims, you need chest seals, you need tourniquets, and you need trauma dressings. As a medic, that's a trauma kit, different than a first aid kit. So I had a pack on, I could treat 40 people just like that. Everybody's just coming from everywhere. And as I was walking up, there's a guy that was standing on the grassy median right there, right by the church, and he had soot around his mouth, and he had this disheveled look on him. And so put yourself in this position. And as I'm walking up, he looks at me and goes, "Sheriff, I can't find my son." I say that because as I'm walking up thinking, what am I going into? Boom, I was distracted by literally a dad who I could not help. Because I don't know anything. I don't know if he's alive, he's dead. I said, "Sir, we're going to find your son." I kept going, and I'm walking over fire hoses, and you go to the scene, and, for those that are listening, not everybody has a full-time fire department. Holly has volunteer firefighters, right?
Well, it's part-time.
Part-time. But these are probably people who have other jobs. They're in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. You had firefighters from all agencies on their hands and knees, crawling through that church, every nook and cranny, trying to find people. We could hear people screaming inside, but you can't get to them. Law enforcement can't. The fire is. So as we continue to go on, we have a whole pavilion in the back where they're starting to, unify and join together, the congregation, the family. They're just in complete panic. We take over the Trillium, which is the NCG theater, to become our family unification. The Jehovah's Church just west said, "You can use our entire campus. We're out of here." And we had it for almost a week.
Wow.
I'm going to plant these seeds because this is what you're talking about. During this divisive world that we're in, the good of people shine when there's tragedy.
Yeah.
And so this whole thing is happening, and obviously we're securing the scene, and we get the fire. It's out of control. The whole building burns. Now the FBI comes in, the ATF, myself, Grand Blanc Township. We're doing what's called unified command because we still have victims unaccounted for. We have an active shooter that was still in the parking lot, dead. You got to put this all together. Clearly, it's a church, so now it becomes, believe it or not, a civil rights violation.
Oh, wow.
And that's what brings the FBI nexus in, which is a federal investigation. That's why they have the investigation. ATF, when there's a faith-based or a religious institution that's attacked by fire or bombs, then they take over that fire investigation. So all this thing is happening. At the same time that's happening, people like yourself are telling the story. There's a lot of unknowns. But what I saw as this played out is people that I didn't even know were dropping off cases of water. People were dropping off pizzas. They just wanted to do something because they felt helpless.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question throughout that whole day and then the next day, and I cut a quick video because I was asked to do that to get the message out. Like you, I have been given a platform and I use that as a tool. And so I wanted people to know shooter's dead, active scene, dynamic, multiple victims, don't come here, more updates coming. Boom. I don't know if you saw that video that I did from the scene. Because people just want to know something.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to fill in the blanks. You know that as a journalist. And what I found is the more you do and the more you update, the more it settles people. Fast forward for the sake of time, the scene was secure. The next day, we started putting pieces together. Just about 5 days ago, I don't know how it happened, but my phone pops up. And it's a message, and it says, Sheriff Swanson, I saw a story that you did, and I want you to know that I'm the dad that you talked to.
Aww.
And I found my son and my daughter, and we were unified. They have 5 kids. His name is Brigger Frampton, and he's a resident at Genesis, and he serves our country in the National Guard.
That's awesome.
So these are the things that are happening. You saw everybody come together, even when we did our faith-based tactical briefing.
I was going to ask you, because I know you got faith leaders together. So, and this is the stuff that I really want to highlight because there is good in our community. It's just so many times, like, whether it's clickbait or whatever the media wants to focus on, it's all the negative stuff. And I think the first step is actually my job and to highlight the good. So tell me about, you organized faith leaders together after this. Tell me about that.
So I'm going to answer the question too when somebody says, Swanson's always on the camera. That's why I do it, because I know that I want to put a message out that's not edited, that's not filtered. I want people to know that when I say something, it's to message something. And I've said before, my team knows it, to be unclear is to be unkind. And so in this particular case, when Monday came around, I did not know it because I was so involved in the scene, but other churches were getting bomb threats because you have evil that want to materialize on other evil acts. They want to create terror and fear.
Yeah.
So they're calling out these churches. Everybody's already on edge. Churches have canceled, Sunday night services, Tuesday Bible studies. Everybody's just wondering, what do we do? And I think it's important to note that when we took the families from the church to the NCG, the age group that was the most calm were the ones that were in middle school and high school.
Wow.
Do you know why?
Because
they were trained.
Yeah.
They just saw their friends and family get killed, and they were as calm as can be. That's in the school setting. A lot of the churches, they don't have any of that built in. And so the second day, of course, the first day and the second day, I'm talking to a number of people. And on the second day, which was a Monday, I'm talking to the Attorney General of the state of Michigan, Dana Nessel. And we were talking about, obviously, state issues and all these different things. And she said, I told her, I said, we have a lot of churches are asking what's next and on the legal side. And she goes, I would be willing to come up and share the legalities of what any faith-based group has or does not have for them to protect. And I said, how about we do something and we do a tactical briefing? And she goes, I'll do the legal part. She's the top legal mind of the state. And I said, we can incorporate that with, the run, hide, fight. And then we can also do like a tactical medicine part of it and the communications. This is all happening Monday. Well, there was a Jewish holiday on Thursday. And so you had the Jewish community scared to death, like what's going to happen. That Friday in the Muslim community, they had prayer. And, this is all happening. And then Saturday and Sunday, you have the Sabbath, you have Sunday. I said, we need to do this on Friday. So in 3 days, I cut a quick video and I said, this is for the faith-based community. Doesn't matter your theology, your doctrine, I don't care. If you have people come into your facility, a mosque, a temple, a synagogue, or a church. We want to give you the basic, this is what you need to have in play to keep your flock safe. We initially planned for 50 people. And within the first hour, we just said, we need a bigger boat. And in 3 days, we had 516 people show up, the Genesee Health System. 200 plus faiths showed up. And I'm telling you, Anno, I'm looking out there and I'm thinking, this is America. Like this right here is what people don't see.
Yep.
I had people from every faith sitting intermittent with other people. Not a single issue whatsoever. People want to know, what can we do? What do we not do? How do we keep our people safe? They were there for the same reason. So my internal drive is I believe in unity. I've seen it during riots, during water crisis, during COVID. I've seen it during violent acts, death scenes. It's possible. And that's the message that I bring.